was watching the right one because like literally I felt like I was getting like I was getting deja vu. She wears something different, so I know I was it's two different press briefings, but it looks like the same press briefing at some moments. She said exactly verbatim the same thing 2 days before. I can't believe I'm hearing this verbatim again. She must have said it 1,000 times in her head or 1,000 times in speech because she says it like it is so creepy. I had to keep going back and forth to make sure which video I'm watching, so I'm hoping I'm picking these out right because I literally got like all dyslexic and turned around by how common Corinne's answers are to the 2 days. But it's mostly going to be about railroad, and then we'll do some clips on railroads. Pro strike.
Thank you, Corinne. Two questions, John. First, the niece of the Ayatollah Khomeini was arrested in Tehran recently as part of the protest march. Does the administration, having stated its support for peaceful protest, have any particular statement about her arrest?
We would, I think, stay very consistent, sir, that we believe in the right of peaceful protest. We have made it clear that we stand with particularly, it's largely Iranian women, but it's obviously beyond that, but particularly their concerns about the dictates that have affected their lives personally, and we'll continue to do whatever we can to not only support their right of protest, but to hold the regime accountable for the way it's treating its people.
And along the same lines, is the administration going to put out a statement to the military junta in Burma about the published reports of the incarceration and keeping incommunicado the former leader Aung San Suu Kyi?
I don't have a preview of some sort of statement to read out to you today. We've been very clear about our concerns over the military's domination there and their practice and their policies, particularly the way they treat political prisoners. But I don't have a statement.
Particularly how they treat political prisoners. We locked Jill Stein up to a chair in handcuffs for 8 hours for trying to participate in a debate. We do not. We pepper spray our political advocates. We spray them with water hoses in the middle of winter in South Dakota. We tear gas them in states all over the country. I fucking hate the hypocrisy. Oh man, I'm sorry. This is just, it's going to be massive hypocrisy here. I don't even want to hear him again. Yep, this is the right clip. He just doesn't have a clue of what we actually do to our own populace that protest. So for him,
For that particular.
Yeah, and he doesn't have shit to say about it. Like, I mean, I'm against it. That's what I have to say. I'm against it. Come on, man. Oh, fuck. All right, so we're going to the 14th minute. This guy. All right. Somewhere in here.
To sort of assert the rights of people advocating for freedom and democracy more forcefully than perhaps we have.
This is, I think, a moment to reassert what we believe in when it comes to freedom.
We're going to check this guy out today, and then we move on to Corinne for the next day. I only wanted to check out the last 3 or so minutes because Corinne was so just repetitive of the 2 days. You only really have to watch one of the 2 days this week. And John Kirby, all I can think of is a little puffy just flying away from me, like a little Kirby cloud going away from me.
China issue, why is the White House's line that everybody has the right to peacefully protest and not the U.S. thinks it's bad to lock people up in their houses to stop COVID?
We've made it clear, Peter, that...
So now the Fox News guy is going to jump in and be like, hey, we're not okay with protesting for COVID restrictions and we don't really make opinions on anybody protesting. And why are they all jumping up and down about protests in Iran, protests in China in our White House press briefings? Like, this shouldn't even be. Why do we need to ask opinions of the White House on protests outside the country when they ignore the protests that are happening inside the country constantly? They don't pay attention to these things. They don't even show them on the news sometimes, or if they do show them on the news, they push them in a direction where it's like they show like the 1% are violent, or they show like one little thing that happens bad over here or whatever. They don't show the whole protest. They don't actually give true coverage. And then we're going to give opinions on other countries' protests, which we only have footage from are their government, or it's
Uh,
it's propaganda. It's just straight up propaganda.
a lockdown is not a policy that we're going to support here. We've come a long way over these last 3 years. Hard to believe, 3 years in terms of treating COVID and preventing COVID. So
Yeah.
we've said, a lockdown is not a policy that we support here. But obviously, there are people in China that have concerns about that, and they're protesting that, and we believe they should be able to do that peacefully.
Okay. And on the sanctions relief for Venezuela,
Yeah.
why is it that President Biden would rather let U.S. companies drill for oil in Venezuela?
Oh, the way they do, like true journalism. None of these people are. Oh, I shouldn't say that. None of these people. The first question was by a true journalist. He's from the old school. Some of these people are, they went to journalism school, but they went to like Columbia. That was more about their parents being rich than about them being interested in journalism. It's about networking. It's not about journalists. So most of these people are not journalists. Some of them are. I shouldn't have said that as an overview. Most of them are plants. Most of them are reading questions from the White House. It's so funny to watch it. Sometimes they're literally reading questions, and then the White House reads their answer because they have an answer prepared for that exact question somehow. I don't know how. I don't know how you got in the front seat. Don't know how you happened to get in the front seat.
Then here in the U.S.
Not an accurate take on the president's view.
Earlier this month, he said no more drilling. There is no more drilling.
The president has issued 9,000 permits for drilling on U.S. federal lands, Peter, 9,000 of them being unused. There are plenty of opportunities for oil and gas companies to drill here in the United States. I'll let Chevron speak for this particular issue of sanctions relief, but our expectation is it won't be a lot of oil coming out of there. It'll have to be shipped to the United States.
Does the president think there's some benefit to the climate to drill oil in Venezuela and not here?
No, it has nothing.
Dude, he just said you're attacking him on your own question, ignoring what he answered. Like, is that really what journalists are supposed to do? Journalists are supposed to retort with a well thought of, on the spot, breakdown of what they said, not respond with that. That was, oh, I'm sorry. The whole point of the show is that I am stoned, and I'm almost doing as good of a job of journalism as these guys are, who are paid 7 figures, high 6 figures to go in there and do this shit. It's ridiculous. What was I gonna go up to next? I'm done with Fox Stoopy Stoops and his half-ass questions. All right, 50, 25, 40. That seems much more specific. 25, 40. Close enough.
Response to a letter that was sent by the leadership of 5 news organizations to the administration. One of those organizations is the New York Times. These organizations worked with Julian Assange prior to the publication of classified cables by
Something that never happens. A Julian Assange question in the freaking White House press briefing room. Oh my God. It never freaking happens. This is somebody who has been in jail for fucking leaking information about our government doing illegal shit. And we've had him in jail for a decade now. Since 08 maybe? 14 years? 09? I don't even. It's been ridiculous. Like, this guy's been under lock and key.
I'm asking that the administration drop the Espionage Act charge that was put forward against Assange by the Trump administration. Generally, what's the White House's response to that request? And I'll start there and I'll ask you a follow-up.
Yeah, we're aware of it, and we would refer you to the Justice Department.
All right. Anticipating that answer. What is...
Coin flip. That's all you got, bro? Coin flip. Just to the Justice Department, man. We're talking about a journalist. You're supposed to be answering journalists a question about a journalist, and all you go is, go ahead and ask somebody else. That's horrible.
Your assessment, what is the National Security Council's assessment of the harm that was done by the WikiLeaks leak in 2012? And that would inform any decision by the Justice Department.
I think, if you go back and look at how the administration responded in 2012, and of course, President Biden was then vice president at the time, we would maintain that what we said at the time, what was said at the time, that those leaks, those revelations in the public sphere were damaging to U.S. national security.
We believe they were damaging to national security. Jesus Christ, dude. Screw you. Piss off. That's a horrible answer. Ugh. That's such a no-answer. That's such a non-answer. He didn't even he didn't answer at all. That was horrible. All right. We're going to watch the last 4 or 5 minutes, I guess. I wanted to start at 102. Could not watch Koran at all. The end is usually the best when they ask the non-basic people. Like when they start their press briefing, they almost go to the same. Like there's 10 people, they're gonna ask 6 of these 10 people, and then the end of it, they might ask the new people or the non-picked people. That's when you always get the best. Try to get this as close to 102 as possible.
Secretary Buttigieg has been in touch with the rail companies, and
Yes.
Secretary Vilsack has been in touch with the agricultural sector. So we have been in regular touch.
Agricultural sector statement.
We're not how long it takes, and nobody leaves until there's a deal.
No, totally appreciate the question. Look, the president has been very clear. Shutdown will be unacceptable. As I mentioned, Secretary Walsh has been in direct contact with the unions.
Shutdown will be unacceptable. This is our beginning of our railroad talk. The last segment from her day on, what was this, 4 days ago, and then the 11:30, the last day of November, her press secretary. It was all questions about the rail, and I wanted to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments off of that. 5 different questions from 5 different people and her responses. So we're gonna get heavy in this, but let's watch the last 5 minutes of this day first, and then we'll get into the real press briefing talks. I'm going to try to let this go. I get a little.
The rail unions, Secretary Buttigieg has been in touch with the rail companies, and Secretary Vilsack has been in touch with the agricultural sector. So we.
The agricultural sector. We're talking to the rail companies and the agriculture.
We've been in regular touch with folks, and we're continuing to do that. The president has had multiple conversation, has been directly involved with his administration and also members of Congress. And so what we believe and what we will continue to say is that we think and what should be happening in good faith is that they should come up with a solution. And majority of the unions have ratified this. You have 8 out of the 12, which is important to also note.
She says that a few times over the couple days. 8 out of 12. That's her sticking point. 8 out of 12. We got 8 out of 12. Couldn't appease, the actual rail workers. Didn't want to actually appease the actual rail workers, but we got 8 out of 12 unions to agree that were involved.
But again, this is, I'm just not going to get into any details on what else we can, other efforts that we might be taking.
It's been planned or set with every representative.
I don't have anything to preview about convening everyone here all at once, but it matters. It matters that Secretary Walsh has been.
She's just so over dramatic about something that she's trying to get past. Like, I'm just going to be over dramatic and not say much that adds to anything. And like this little statement here, she's not going to add anything the next day. I just want to kind of show how these things work. It's a very good example of how they avoid actually telling us anything.
In direct contact with the rail workers, it matters that Secretary Buttigieg has been in touch with the companies, and it matters for certain that Secretary Vilsack has been in touch with the agricultural sector, and that's going to continue. Those conversations will continue to happen. Again, the president has been very clear. A shutdown is unacceptable. It will hurt families, communities across the country. It will hurt.
It'll hurt jobs. It will hurt farms. It will hurt businesses. Farms grow food, man. Like, the food's going to still be there. I don't know what she's talking about on that part. What about the people that are actually suffering from working these jobs? That can't take, I mean, I was hearing some of the interviews. They're taking like 9 days off a year. Some of them are getting 2 days off a month. Like, some of them are, getting 9 to 12 days off a year. They're constantly on call. They work, like, it's insane. And all they want is 7 freaking paid days off. That's what they're fighting for right now. That's the tipping point of their strike, is 7 fucking paid days off.
Jobs, it will hurt farms, it will hurt businesses, and it just should not be happening.
One question, the U.S. Embassy to
This is the worst example of bipartisan horribleness. And hey, what's up, Viceroy? Yeah, man, freaking, it's horrible. And it's just gonna work me up, so it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna get my 100 push-ups in today right after this episode. I'm gonna do the 100 push-ups in a day of this month. So yeah, freaking, this riled me up earlier. It's gonna rile me up now. It's good juice for the soul here. And the next White House press briefing was just clip after clip after clip of her avoiding and stepping on the man, being Oh, they almost never say workers. They almost never say workers. They don't even say the word workers. They avoid the word workers so hard. Like it's so ingrained in them not to even say workers. It's gross. Like they said it one time and it stuck out like a sore thumb.
Issued a warning to U.S. citizens about those traveling to DR, that those that are dark-skinned were being targeted. This as the Dominican Republic is doing more deportations of Haitians. And so my question is there anything that, any response or actions from the administration in light of this warning that's come out?
So when it comes to the warnings, that comes from the Secretary of State. So I would refer you to them on the specifics and the particulars of that warning, and would just let them speak to it themselves.
Just wanted to ask a quick follow-up. The president has said repeatedly that, of course, he wants to ban assault weapons, but on Thanksgiving, when he was in Nantucket, he said, quote, "The idea we still allow semi-automatic weapons to be purchased is sick." Obviously, that's a huge category of guns from...
And he just misspoke, bro. But thanks for trying to... I mean, that's kind of... I guess they have to. Look at this guy, though. I had to pause that because this guy is... hawking him down. Like, you got a question and that's what you're gonna waste it on? Us in the back never get questions, yo, and you wasted it on this shit? I love that. I love little moments, because when I watch this, obviously during the day, I am just straight fucking... I'm rather like not watching it and only listening, or I am zoomed in on it because I'm smoking. And yeah, this guy right here, this guy. That's great.
Rifles to pistols to shotguns that are not assault weapons. So I guess my question here is, did the president misspeak, or does he in fact want to ban all semi-automatic?
Does he not look aggravated that like the back gets called on like 3 or 4 times and you wasted a fucking question on a misspeak at a speech? Come on, man. This is Twitter bot shit you could be fighting with.
No, he was talking about assault weapons. That's what he was talking about on that morning or that afternoon when he was asked that question.
Like, it's disappointing to see somebody in the back getting not lazy of a question.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Good, yeah.
Okay.
As you know, former President Donald Trump had a dinner with Kanye West and Nick Fuentes, a known white nationalist. Is the White House concerned that former president, and more importantly, a current candidate for president, is meeting with someone who's known to foster racist and anti-Semitic views?
So look, I'm not going to respond to everything that happens with the former president, but this is something that's important that.
She's not going to respond to everything the former president does, but this is important. I thought this was stupid as shit. I thought it was a joke. I only knew about it because I follow Luke of We Are Change on Twitter and on YouTube, and he is my libertarian voice typically, and oh man, this is something the White House has to respond to. Usually what Trump does, I'm not going to talk about, but this I will.
We speak very clear about, and we speak very forcefully about. This administration, this president totally rejects bigotry, racism, anti-Semitism, and there is just no place for these types of vile forces in our society, and this is something that we are going to continue to deny, including Holocaust deniers. And let's not forget, when you say things like this, when you do not speak out against these type of poisonous and dangerous kind of remarks or representation, if you will, that is also incredibly dangerous within itself. And so we should all be condemning this, and we should be very clear, and say it in really absolute clear terms. And again, this is something that we condemn, and we will continue to speak out against.
Quick one on the World Cup. So just while we're sitting here, a man carrying a rainbow flag and wearing a T-shirt saying respect for Iranian women ran across the pitch and was then taken away. So first of all, is the president going to be? I know he's traveling tomorrow and he's got a good speech and stuff. It's right around the time of the game. Is he going to be? Is he going to be basically kept abreast of?
Funny. That is funny. Yes, maybe Trump will set him straight. We're gonna see Luke's response to that situation of Luke of We Are Change at the end of my stream tonight, because I haven't watched it. I have to know what his response is to that. Like.
And just on the political side, what does he feel about the rights of people to do things like what this man did just now, wave a LGBT flag and call out for Iranian women?
Just more broadly, and we'll say this. Look, we urge the state of Qatar and all Qataris to fully realize the Emir's message here, and that is to truly recognize and welcome everyone to the Cup, to the World Cup. And we've been very clear about that. We have said that many times before. We are concerned over the potential.
All right, you can read her fucking response. Fuck Qatar's World Cups. Like 5 to 6,000 people had like rather slave-style conditions put upon them. Like over 1,000 people died, and or like what was it, like 5,000 people were held against their will to finish these things. But like immigrants were held against their will. It was horrible. But the fact is that obviously the White House doesn't care about actual any human rights anywhere on the planet. Our biggest ally is Qatar, or is Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia has some of the worst human rights violations of anybody on the planet. They behead like 50 people a year. They were beheading 50 people a year while we were trying to fight ISIS, who was beheading like 30 people a year. So we're fighting a terrorist group that beheaded less people than our allies. Like, it's crazy what we will and will not get along with. It's absolutely insane what we will and will not get along with. Insane. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clips from this day. I think almost all about railroad questions, if I remember right, because that's the most important out of all these crap. And we're just gonna see the build up here. Like, they get very little information out of her. You have to watch all the clips to even get, but it's so repetitive. I almost have to I have to watch what she's wearing to remember it's a different. You have to pay it. Yeah, it gives you deja vu. But let's get these clips in because it kind of builds. It shows a narrative of how the White House responds to things. So 3:35. I got it pretty specific on these days, I think. So.
Wondered if you could confirm that, and also whether the U.S. was involved at all, if it was a U.S.-led attack or, I'm sorry, operation.
So earlier today, ISIS publicly announced.
Oh yeah, that was the gaffe. Was it a U.S.-led attack? I mean operation. Oops. I mean operation. Oops.
The death of al-Quraishi, the overall leader of ISIS. This follows the same.
So this is one of those examples of a planted question. She messed up the question because it wasn't her question. She was just handed to it by her. Now she's responding with a written response, trying to get it out of the way early. Make sure that this is like the 3.5 minute mark. So she's trying to get this question out of the way early so other people can't respond. And then she does a horrible job, both of them reading it. They both do a horrible job reading it.
Fate of his predecessor, Aji Abdullah, who was killed in a U.S.-led raid in February in northwestern Syria. We are pleased to see the removal of ISIS's top leaders in such quick succession. The United States remains committed to countering the global threat from ISIS and stands ready to work with international partners who share that same goal. We will build on these counterterrorism successes, and we will keep that pressure on for sure. As far as any involvement by the U.S. As it relates to the death of al-Quraishi, there was no result. It was not a result of any U.S. action. I can confirm.
Thank you. And then
it had nothing to do with us. So she apologizes. She understands. She confirms. Had nothing to do with us. I promise. We better take their word. It had nothing to do with us. We promise. We promise. It had nothing to do with us. Oh, all right. So yeah, that was the beginning. I wanted to start out with that because that was like such a planted question, and they both just shook the hell out of it. They just did not pull that off smoothly. If you're gonna get a planted question and a planted answer, you got to do better. All right, get better. All right, now I think we go on to railroads. I'm pretty sure we get on to railroads here. So 756 has to be.
The president released a statement praising the House for passing this bill to avert a shutdown of the rails. He says he wants it on his desk immediately, but he didn't mention this separate bill guaranteeing 7 days of paid sick leave for rail workers. Does the president also back and support this legislation? Does he also want that on his desk?
So I just want to say a couple of things. That the president believes that a bill averting a rail strike needs to reach his desk by this weekend. He is very clear about that because we need to protect the American families from a potential devastating effects of a rail shutdown. And we have.
Yep, we need to protect people from a shutdown. Okay. Understood.
Talked about that numerous times, and the president was really clear about that when he put out his statement earlier this week. The president, of course, he supports paid sick leaves.
He for all Americans. Ooh, he all right. Interesting. Supports paid sick leave for all Americans. Did not know that. He doesn't try to do shit for us, so how would we know? Good that they can, put that on the tongue in cheek, but not actually do anything for us. Good. Okay. Okay.
For all Americans, including rail workers, but he does.
Wait, even the people that are ready to strike, you're even including them. Okay. Good. Good. Almost your finger is so close to the pulse. So close.
Not support any bill or amendment that will delay getting this bill to his desk by this Saturday. And he's been very clear about that. Again, he's a president for all Americans, and he believes that.
I have to keep admitting, I am so fucking pro strike for anybody and you have to do it when you have the power. Workers have the power right now. You gotta strike while the iron's hot, or the rail's hot, whatever.
We need to avert this potential shutdown that would have a devastating effect on our economy, a devastating effect on jobs, a devastating effect in our communities across the country and our farms as well.
Now, it wouldn't hurt the actual farms, though. It just hurts getting food off the farms for a short period, right? We know that's not going to actually hurt the farms. Like, the land's not going to erode because the rail's not driving and throwing ash all over it. It might actually help them for a few seconds. So, and it's winter. There's nothing fucking growing right now. What the hell are you talking about? Everything's in storage. Everything's in the warehouses right now. There's very few places growing food. Florida, where I'm at, and California. And that's like it. Everybody else is shut down. There is no food getting grown. For the most part, it's in storage. What the fuck are you talking? We've got to worry about the farms. It's Florida and California. Truckers can handle the two states that are still growing food. What the hell are you talking about?
What is the president's message to union workers, rail workers across the country who backed the president, who helped him get elected, believed that he was standing with them, and who feel that he has betrayed them?
Yeah. What about all of us who feel betrayed? I mean, I didn't vote for the asshole, but I still feel betrayed.
The president, as you know, has been called by unions and labor leaders as a pro-union president. And
That's funny. That's funny. Pro-union president. That's funny.
And he takes that very seriously. He is the most pro-union president in history.
You've got to be kidding me. No. No, he's not. No, the fuck he isn't. No.
And he's worked tirelessly to secure victories for unions and for work.
In the last 40 years, we have lost unions constantly. In the last 20 years, we have gouged unions while he's been in D.C., while he's been a part of the system. So he can't be pro-union if we have lost unions under his reign, not just as president, but under his reign of D.C. You're not pro-union if you lose unions when you have a voice, when you have power.
Workers, he was first elected to the Senate. So this is when it comes.
I am pro-union, but I'm for the companies that are trying to keep the workers to work. Yeah, can't be pro-union if you're anti-strike, dude.
So when it comes to union, this is something that he has worked towards and making sure that he delivers for what he called yesterday. If you listen to him during his Michigan statement, he said they were the backbone. They build our middle class, right? They were the best workers that we have in this country. And so, as a proud pro-union president, he's reluctant to override the ratifications procedures of individual unions, right? We have to remember there were 12 unions involved in this when the tentative agreement was done. When that agreement came out, it was praised. We received praise from rail unions and from folks and from the companies as well. And once that agreement came to fruition because of the work that this president did on September 15th, there was a cooling period, and it was ratified by eight unions of the 12.
Oh, you love
and so,
that shit,
look,
don't you?
we have to remember there are really good,
She so loves saying the 8 out of 12, 8 out of 12. But yeah, you're forgetting about the actual fucking striking union members. It's the 12 unions, but the main union, the one that is under the most stress, is the one that does not agree with you. Then you're just getting a bunch of side unions to agree with them in coalition. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Give them their damn 7 days.
pieces in this deal. There's a 24% pay raise and a 5,000 bonus.
Oh, the good pieces bullshit line. I hate that line. Oh, I hate that line so much. The good pieces. She says that so much. She says the. Oh, I hate that line. There's good pieces in this bill. No, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for something to protect workers. Not there's some good things in there. There's some good things. That's you've already defeated. You've already thrown in the towel. If you say there's some good things in there.
No changes in co-pays, deductibles, or co-insurance cost. Some time off for routine, preventive, and emergency medical care, and protecting the two-man crew. This is a deal that has a lot of benefits. But again, he wants to make sure that we avert a shutdown that would be detrimental to our economy.
Okay. Thanks, Bree. Europe and France are concerned about Buy America.
And we have said.
All right. Yeah, we're so concerned. We can't let a shutdown happen because we got to force these people back to work. We cannot let it happen because it hurt American families. But it doesn't, like, just no actual sympathy for the worker. And I don't think really listen for it. Maybe it was like more than me listening to this earlier today. And like we never heard the word worker from her. From questioners, like from people asking questions, but she never responded to the word worker. Like worker is not in their vocab for some reason. Why the hell can't White House say workers? Why is that a vocab that like they're defeatist on? All right, here's another 2-minute segment I think that we need.
I said this the other day. Secretary Walsh has been in touch with the rail union. Secretary Buttigieg has been in touch with the companies. The president has been clearly in touch with congressional leaders and his administration, and Secretary Vilsack has been in close touch with the agriculture sector. But just to give a little bit of a timeline here, the president and his team have been directly engaged in supporting negotiations and averting a shutdown.
In supporting negotiations and averting a shutdown. I mean, it sounds like he's working for the corporations, like he is putting his boot on the worker's foot, the way she says it. I mean, is it just my warped perception that I just always think that they're horrible? Because to me, that's what I hear. That could be just my outlook if I always think that they're horrible. So, I don't know.
For months now. In July, as you recall, like we've talked about it right here in the briefing room, the unions asked him to constitute a presidential emergency board, a request they made because they know he is indeed a pro-union president, and he did just that. After the PEB, he brought the full weight of his administration to bear to keep the parties at the table and to get employers to make concessions, and they did. So he made it possible for the unions to secure tentative agreements in September that secured a higher pay. I just mentioned 24%, and you've seen that also in the president's statement, and a $5,000 bonus for workers. Those tentative agreements kept our rail system working and prevented a disruption to our economy. And just want to add,
that's what's the matter. Don't affect the economy. Workers can go to shit, but do not affect that economy. Got to keep the economy strong. Look at Matt,
there's a cooling off period.
It's rare for somebody in this instant to actually ask about the profit problems.
September 15th, tentative agreement was made. In that cooling off period, those 12 unions were given the opportunity for them to ratify or vote for that tentative agreement. Again, 8 of them ratified it. That's a majority of the 12. And so we wanted to give the last 2 unions who voted in late November their opportunity to make their voices heard. And so that's kind of how you saw the process the last couple of months. We've been engaged. We've been certainly working with them on coming to this tentative agreement, and now we're at a place where the president has been very clear that we have to avert a rail shutdown, and he's asking Congress to act. He's very pleased by what the Speaker and the leadership was able to do today in the House to move that forward.
Not going to another question.
Are taking, again, a historic step forward. The president is very proud of the work that Congress is doing this in a bipartisan way to deal with an issue that he has fought on for many years. And you've heard him say people should be allowed to choose who they love, and love is love.
Can I follow up that, Thank you. I want to follow up on the rail issue. Senator Sanders and about a dozen other Democratic senators released a statement earlier today essentially saying that President Biden did well in the initial
Oh, I gotta definitely hear his questions again. So, amazing how the Democratic Party has changed, using to be a big tent party, and now they cozy up to Wall Street and very war hawkish. Not the same Democratic from 30. Yeah, not the same Democratic for 40 years ago. I mean, I'm absolutely an independent, progressive person. I haven't voted Democrat for president except for the one time in my life. But my grandfather was a staunch Democrat in the 80s and 70s, and I don't think the party that he promoted and helped push and was a part of in he was a part of the party in the 80s and 90s still too, but I don't think the party that he knew was anything like we have now. Anything at all, anything even close. But this guy has some good questions. Let's start from the beginning from him so I don't get distracted.
And about a dozen other Democratic senators released a statement earlier today essentially saying that President Biden did well in the initial negotiations, but Congress should do better. They called out the rail industry specifically for making record profits of more than $20 billion over the past.
Yeah, so this is the only person to step up and say, hey, they made record profits, and the rail workers are exhausted to the point of, striking, and they're doing this in a time of the year that they know that they're putting pressure on us because they need this to go their way. Why can't we take some of those record profits and fucking profit share and turn some of that record profits into programs for these people? How is that so hard? Why is that like nation news when these corporations are greedy as prick? Just the greediest pricks ever.
3/4, and essentially said that they should use some of those profits to put it back towards their workers and make sure their workers have paid sick leave. I wonder what the president makes of those comments. We've heard the president before call out industry, call out the gas and oil and gas industry for making record profits and not putting that back towards consumers. Does he feel the same way about the rail industry?
I want to be very clear here. The temporary agreement that the president was able to secure in September, on September 15th, as you know, that's when we announced it, had some real wins for workers. It really did. Again, the concessions he secured for workers.
So she's not going to talk about the profit. She's not going to talk about what the fuck he just said about how the progressives in Congress are, but Bernie Sanders was upset with what, Biden actually did for the workers. She's just going to go over her tight five. Like, as a comedian, you go for a tight five. She's going for her tight 90 seconds, her tight 30 seconds. She has these things memorized, and they sound like such repetitive talking points that you lose. Like, I'm sorry, but you lose as a correspondent, as a press briefing correspondent, if you are just going to spit this crap every time.
Including a 24% pay raise and a $5,000 bonus, no changes in copay, deductibles, or co-insurance costs for the operating crafts. Sometimes
no changes in co-pays, operating, so they didn't get anything worse, is what you're saying. Like, hey, we gave these guys a couple bucks an hour and a little bit of a bonus, and we didn't take away any of their benefits. We didn't take any of their benefits away from them. We had record profits, and we didn't take away their insurance. What the fuck are we talking about?
on routine, preventative, and emergency medical care and protecting the two-man crew. The victories he helps.
She literally already read this damn cue card. You read that cue card already.
Secure for workers is why the deal was ratified. It was ratified by 8 of the.
It was ratified by 8 out of 12. I mean, we're never going to ratify Roe versus Wade, but that was ratified. 2 wings, yep. Yeah, that's that's something Lee Camp says a lot. We have two wings of the same. Yeah, exactly. Not exactly. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And we have to remember, right? If we were to be in a rail shutdown, it will hurt the very families that we're talking about, that you're asking me about, right? It will.
Or is it going to hurt the families of the members who literally work all but 9 days of the year or 2 days off a month and never see their fucking families, don't get to see their kids, have no concept of how their kids are living their lives because they're working 80, 100-hour weeks? Don't think you're thinking about those families right now. I don't think you're considering them. Don't think that's happening. No, I don't think you're thinking about everybody concerned. I don't think you're thinking about those union members at all. They're asking for sick pay days off, and I don't think you care about them. I really don't think you do.
hurt the union families as well and union workers. And so, he was asked to get involved in July. He did. He put together the Presidential Emergency Board, and he put the full, the fullness of the full weight of the
the fullness. He put that fullness in, the fullness, the whole thing. Put it all in there.
To get to this temporary agreement.
To get to this, he put it all in there to get to a temporary agreement that we wouldn't take away their benefits and we'd give them a tiny bit more money. Shut the fuck up. We like to make our record profits. Shut the hell up. No strike. No strike for you.
And again, I just listed out some real concrete gains that we saw because of the president's involvement.
Democrats that there's corporate greed involved, and that's one of the reasons why they can't have an agreement here. The president doesn't agree that the rail industry.
What I'm saying is
she did not answer that question, and for one damn time in this entire fucking episode, the episode of the White House press briefings, don't you get mad? I get mad. One time somebody actually asked a proper follow-up. Let's see how she responds.
That the president was able to put together a temporary agreement that prevented a downturn, a disruption in our economy. That would
say the word worker or profit. Just say it one time. Say the words worker or profit. Say them one fucking time. That's the conversation we're having. It's, oh my god, it's like you're a 13-year-old on TikTok and you're paying, like, dude, listen to the subject. What is happening right now?
hurt all families, and there are some really true wins that came out of this agreement because of the work that this president did. But look, I've said this many times, and he has said this many times. He's the president for all Americans, right? And it is.
Oh, he's the president for all Americans. That's great. I love it. Whew. All right, that was perfect. Good job.
It's important that we avert a rail shutdown. It is unacceptable. It would hurt farms. It would hurt jobs. It would hurt communities across the country. And so that is what the president is focused on. How is he going to help all Americans here?
Yeah, that's what he's focused on. All Americans, except for the ones working in the rail. No, they don't think about workers at all. We're not donors. I mean, I guess that's how DC thinks, is we're not donors. God, it's infuriating. He actually asked the proper follow-up, and he still got freaking ignored. It's so infuriating. All right, one more segment from her today, and then we'll make sure I clip this White House rant tonight, because she's infuriating. She is blood boiling.
Can you confirm that?
I don't have anything to preview at this time.
All right.
Okay, April.
Corinne, I want to go back to the rail strike.
Yeah, get her. All they care about is votes. All they care about is donors. All they care about is the donors.
Potential thereof. And I want to drill down on what you continue to say, hurt. This White House, this administration on the Hill, you guys are rallying the economy. As some are concerned about what the end of the first quarter could look like in 2023. Could you
Sorry. I'm sorry. This is the last one. You're in a decent mood. Jimmy Dore next. Sorry. I had to get it out. Yeah. We'll go to Jimmy Dore right after this, but oh my god. Yeah, they're infuriating, right? Like, the White House is infuriating. They really are. Just the way they lie to the public.
Qualify and quantify what that hurt looks like, because you keep talking about the union people and their families, but it's broader than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me break it down exactly what this could look like. It would have a rail shutdown, would have a grinding effect on our economy to halt and touch the lives of nearly every family across the country. Even in the days before a rail stoppage, a serious...
She's going back to reading. She asked a question that she was like emotional about, and she went right back to reading.
will begin to occur. A couple of examples here. By Friday, Class 1 railroads will likely begin to notify their customers of the wind down process. Just the announcement would disrupt.
Now she's gonna threaten us with what it would look like. Oh, come on, lady. She's gonna threaten us with what it would look like if the rail actually freaking stops like that. You are rough. You are rough. What was that?
Supply chains as companies begin to reschedule shipments from rail to truck. As soon as this weekend, Class 1 railway.
Welcome in, welcome in. Finishing up the White House press briefings, and then we're moving on to some other news clips from Useful Idiots, Jimmy Dore, We Are Change.
May begin to refuse to transport hazardous materials like chemicals necessary to treat drinking water and wastewater. Oil and gas refineries unable to ship out hazardous byproducts.
Yeah. Wait. I mean, I don't know. That's like a.
Will stop producing diesel and gasoline,
creating supply constraints. Oh no. Again, I'm all pro strike to get workers what they deserve when there's record profits happening. Can't complain about labor shortages when you are getting record profits and not spreading that shit around. Need to move that oil. Oh no. Like I was literally like, I think my neighbors must have thought I was watching a soccer match because I was screaming so happily when I heard that, like, oh no, they might not make oil for a few days. Yeah! Woo! Like, go! Go! It literally must have looked like a soccer match. Oh, I was not upset by that.
Supply constraints. The auto sector could also be disrupted as soon as this weekend as well. Last time around, the railroads began refusing to transport automobiles about a week ahead of the shutdown deadline. So again, Congress must get a bill to the president's desk this weekend to protect families and from these potential devastating impacts. So this is what we're talking about. These are real life, changes and impacts that we can see here.
So with that said, thank you for all that. Didn't expect you to have it. Thank you.
Oh, she hit her right so solid. Thank you for all that. Didn't expect to have it. I didn't expect you to have it. That's a solid burn. That is a solid burn. All right. I didn't expect you to have it. Oh, I feel like she just lit her right there. Just lit her. All right, I got to take this down for a second so I know where to cut it. I'm going to move on to some different stuff. So I want to move that White House thing on over to YouTube, who censors the shit out of me if I do other things. So Sean Storm 98, thanks for the follow. If you're still hanging out, if you come back. What's up, everyone? Gonna be doing some moving on to Jimmy Dore and Useful Idiots next. Then we'll go over Biden's horrible week before we go to Luke of We Are Change, talking about his interactions with Kanye and that whole Tim Pool shit. That's gonna be my end of my night. But as of now, yeah, let's get this. This is all nice and broken up now, so I can segment it and move on. Jimmy Dore comedy clip. Jimmy Dore does his news segments. They're worth a check out. I'm sure everybody knows that. Is that a real photo? Oh, my background photo? Yeah, that's my background photo is the best photo I ever took in my life. It was that is a background, that was me climbing to a mountain in a rainstorm with my cousin, my best friend, and my dog. And we got up there. There took like 5 or 6